And now I'm honored to introduce our next speaker, Dr. Gábor Pék from Hungary, an assistant professor and qualified yoga teacher. With a background in computer science and a passion for yoga, he's developing special sadhana protocols in collaboration with mentors, both locally and internationally. Today, he will discuss how AI can assist in self-study for well-being.
So, thank you so much for being here. Actually, today I'd like to talk a little bit about study and knowledge and how we acquire it and how is it related to wellness and well-being and health, and maybe what the yoga would like to really point at on these terms and how today I am for information technology and AI would like to address these things. So it's a really interesting topic, how we try to acquire knowledge. What is our relation to knowledge? Is there any relation to real knowledge? So there is a term in yoga. It's called Svādhyāya. So it means self-study, to learning about our real nature, to learning who we really are. And there is kind of a methodology suggested in the Patanjali Yoga Sutras. Actually, this is one of the niyamas, one of the auspices, restraints or controls. This is how we can translate it. So, for example, in the first phase, the students were invited to learn sacred texts, to learn and repeat them at home. And by repeating these sacred texts, their mind got attuned to a different understanding of reality, a different understanding of their real nature. And here's a key thing. There is a kind of a subject-object binary in humans. So there is kind of a point how we relate to the world. And also we have a sense of subjectivity, which we can call it the mind, right? So this binary causes many problems, many suffering. And this is what self-study would like to address in the first place. So what we could say that the cleaner one's mind field is, the less over and under reactions one will take in life. If we just think of what type of actions we are going to do in life, it is actually pre-coded in our assumptions, in our beliefs, in our world model, how we relate to us, how we relate to others. So all these influences will decide what we say, what we think, what our desires are, and how we are going to act afterwards. So the point of self-study and how it relates to health is the more we can create a balanced mind field, the more we can harmonize our thoughts, or actually at a certain point to really annihilate those thoughts, to have a better understanding of our real nature, and as a result, with our environment, and how these are interacting with each other. So there is a really nice definition from Williamson, and he defines the relationship between the mind and the world. And what he says is that in action, he says the world is adapted to the mind. So if someone is not satisfied how the world looks like, because it is not in harmony with one's mindset, there is an action, right? So in knowledge, what he says, the mind is adapted to the world. So we would like to understand what's out there. So there's a deep strive to understand the reality. For why? To realize that there is an interesting wholeness that we'd like to get back to. And by using knowledge, using the acquisition power of the mind, we would like to understand the reality from certain aspects. And here comes the thing when there's a maladaptation. So if there is the word is maladapted to the mind, so somehow the word is not the thing that the mind is is believing, there is a desire. And if the mind is maladapted to the word, then there is a residue of belief. And what he said, that the point of desire is action, and the point of belief is knowledge. So whenever we would like to decrease the uncertainty of desire, we need to act. And whenever we would like to decrease the uncertainty of belief, because in belief there is a certain aspect of uncertainty, we would like to gain more and more knowledge. And by using knowledge, we are going to have a better understanding of the world. So yoga says that the real well-being comes from understanding our real nature, and suffering comes for ignoring this, and they call it ajnana or avidya. And what they say that the knowledge, which is ajnana, and action are realized that they are the same, then this stillness in the mind is getting realized. So how could we say that knowledge and action is the same? So in Tantra, what they, for example, claim that whenever we pay attention to something, to understand something, there is an effortless action. So we cannot understand something without paying our attention to something, right? And this paying attention to something, how we acquire this knowledge, is actually an action. So this is one level of understanding of this very same term. But if we go back to the previous definition of the word and the mind duality, or seeming appealing duality, then we see if there is actually an equality between jnana and kriya, so the knowledge and the action itself, this binary of subject-object, this binary of mind and word gets depleting over time. So it also raises interesting questions. What is knowledge? What is real intelligence? And what is consciousness? And of course, consciousness cannot be defined, because whatever we say about consciousness will be not true, for sure. But still, we need to say something still. So normally, we define a knower, knowing, and known triad. So there is a subject who would like to know something, and there is a knowing process when we pay our attention to something, and there is an object which is being understood or getting known. But if we just go back to the previous example of the mind and the word and the acquisition of knowledge, we somehow realize that whenever we deepen our attention on something, the sense of I-ness is disappearing. So when we are really in the flow of acquiring knowledge of a given subject, when we really, really deeply would like to learn something because we have a deep desire to understand something, we are not thinking about, oh, this is me who is learning. No, there is no me. There is only that moment or that presence when this knowledge is acquired. So there is something is not good with this triad of knower, knowing, and known. So that's why in traditional scripts, they say that there is an underlying pure consciousness which is unrelational. So when the English word consciousness is not really good, because in con there is kind of a relation, a subject-object binary relation. But real consciousness, what yoga really points to, is unrelational. So intelligence is rooted in knowledge. So how could we be intelligent without understanding? And understanding is rooted in knowledge. And from this aspect, knowledge, which is without subject, object, and knowing, must be rooted in this undeterministic, pure consciousness. And this is what Upadesha Undiyar, one of the scripts from Ramana Maharshi, he says, all in knowledge that is devoid of knowledge and ignorance is knowledge. This is real. There isn't anything for knowing. So what he says, that real knowledge is not about learning something, but knowledge is without an object, without understanding something, because knowledge is, at the end of the day, is what we are. and not what we can acquire. So here comes an interesting idea. Okay, this is for until now it was kind of a philosophical understanding of knowledge and knowing. But here comes the AI. So what AI does is it acquires a lot of information. Whatever information it can consume, it takes it is trained, and afterwards, after this training process, a model is created. And whenever we would like to retrieve information from this model, we just formulate a question, and as a result, the answer is getting back to us. So depending on the training process and the quality of the data that it is trained with, will determine the quality, truthfulness of the model itself and the answers. So the question is, can such an AI, which is deified, we know that we're trying to put a reliance on a third party into a software, lack of human interactions, lack of trust in ourselves, lack of trust in the old traditions, or in guidance, in real guidance. We put trust into crafted machines and software. And the more we forget how we can approach who we really are, the more we are going to put the trust on these external parties. So the key point of a guru in the whole process is from this pure consciousness, from this impersonal reality, guides the students and the disciples towards a reality that they really live. So here are some questions. So can an AI assist in self-study or not? And here's just a simple chart. On the left side, you see that, okay, it's really inconvenient, and we can really quickly acquire information. But even information gathering, I learned that at this point, there is no new data that we can train these models. So they are thinking about creating artificial data and using artificial data to continue the training process. But on the other side, there are many, many, many cons. So cons like real self-study, I hope I could just deliver the messages behind information gathering. So it's not about conceptualizing something. It's not about learning only, but deeply understanding. Understanding that means conceptualizing, but something which we cannot say by words, but realizing our real nature, and this is real self-study. So how could such a third-party software could help in this? Hallucination, this is something everybody knows. So whenever we ask a model, we cannot expect the truthfulness 100%. We will know that at some point there is a mistake. And the problem that the more we rely on these answers, we will not know where the mistake is. This is a huge problem. So maybe 95% of the answer is correct. And we put an over-reliance. But at a certain point, we don't know where the lie is. And because we are reluctant to learn a subject really, really deeply, we will believe 100% on this. And this sluggishness, this laziness, at a certain point will deteriorate our health, our well-being at the same time. Not to talk about that AI is an attack surface, so I'm coming from the IT security field as well. So there are many, many problems in terms of security. And of course, we cannot say that these models could be somehow connected to the deep transcendental reality where, for example, a guru resides. So this is something I already mentioned, that the more we rely on such external parties, the less we are going to be able to train ourselves to at least get a bit of understanding of our real nature, not to talk about real practice, real sadhana, and all the obstacles that come on our way when we do something like this. Another interesting issue is transhumanism, right? So, okay, maybe a machine purely cannot solve our problems. What if we are going to enhance humans and create new species by, for example, this human-machine interoperability? This is something which people are working on actively. Everybody knows it. So can this really deplete our suffering? Can this really give a solution to a problem? And what I could say that the more complexity we bring into a system, the less power it's going to have to acquire interest about its real nature. So just a final thought, can consciousness be computed? Because this is an interesting field that many researchers are working on. Can we create an AI be conscious? And of course, a simple answer is, how could be something computed with finite means, which is something beyond time and space? So the traditional view is that humanity, just like whatever we experience or don't experience, is rooted in a transcendental and immanent reality. And there is a divine order. This is why the Sri Yantra is here. So well-being cannot be acquired by causal means, because whatever we believe to be causal is somehow rooted in a deeper reality. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Pék, for your valuable contribution. Thank you very much.